If you've ever felt invisible to women, or like no matter what you do, the right kind of attraction just doesn't happen, this video will change the way you think. Inside, I'm revealing 6 boundaries that instantly make women respect and desire you, secrets most men never learn. And once you understand them, you'll never see attraction the same way again. Watch closely because most guys fail at even one of these boundaries and don't realize why women pull away. By the end, you'll have the tools to command attention, create respect, and spark deep desire without changing who you are. Comment your location below. I want to see where my warriors are watching from. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss the next life-changing insight. You see, the first boundary every man must master is emotional. Women are not drawn to chaos. They are drawn to stability. Emotional stability is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be something you're not. It's about understanding your emotions, managing them dictate your consciously, and refusing to let them inherit my mother to make dictate your actions. When a man reacts impulsively, when he loses control over anger, jealousy, or frustration, it sends a signal. I am at the mercy of my own feelings. That vulnerability isn't always bad, but in attraction, it communicates unpredictability and weakness. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who are grounded, who can face challenges without falling apart, because it promises security, strength, and leadership. Munder around out self-selding of wordness, with an activity start with self-awareness. You must first recognize your triggers, the situations that push your buttons, the comments that stir irritation, the moments that ignite anxiety. Awareness alone isn't enough, but it is the first step toward control. Once you know what affects you, you can begin to consciously choose your reactions. Instead of snapping or overreacting, you pause, you breathe, and you respond deliberately. This doesn't just make you more attractive, it transforms your relationships entirely. People, not just women, are instinctively drawn to individuals who hold their center in chaos, because it creates calm, focus, and trust. Boundaries in emotional control also mean knowing what you will accept and what you won't. You do not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or toxic behavior simply to maintain approval. Many men confuse being kind or affectionate with being permissive. There is a crucial difference. Kindness is strength expressed from a position of confidence. Permissiveness is weakness disguised as acceptance. A man who allows people to overstep his emotional limits communicates that his value is negotiable. And value, in the realm of attraction, is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can possess. Women sense this deeply. When you respect yourself emotionally, they cannot help but respect you as well. Another critical aspect is emotional transparency without dependency. This may sound contradictory, but it isn't. You can be open about your feelings, share your thoughts and your inner world without being needy or desperate for validation. Emotional dependency is draining. It signals instability. Women are naturally drawn to men who can express vulnerability in a measured way, who can say, "I feel this," without expecting the other person to fix it. This balance demonstrates maturity. It says, I know myself, I can navigate my emotions, I am strong enough to feel and strong enough to contain those feelings. That equilibrium is magnetic because it mirrors a deep evolutionary truth. Strength tempered with sensitivity is irresistible. Emotional boundaries also extend to anticipation and reaction. Many men fall into the trap of seeking instant gratification, whether in conversation, attention, or emotional connection. But a man who holds back, who does not react immediately to every slight or compliment, establishes a rhythm and a presence that commands attention. He does not chase validation, he creates it internally. This is the philosophy behind attraction that most men overlook. Women are not drawn to what is easy or desperate. They are drawn to what is consistent, controlled, and confident. Emotional boundaries allow you to offering from that position naturally. The beauty of mastering your emotional boundaries is that it transforms your interaction from transactiating for acceptic. You are no longer to Goshen form or existent for approval or acceptance. Instead, you operate from a place of inner authority. Every word, every glance, every silence carries weight because it is backed by emotional control. You are present without being reactive, engaged without being dependent, and expressive without being needy. This subtle yet profound shift in demeanor alters perception instantly. You become a man who is seen, heard, and remembered, not because of theatrics or manipulation, but because of the quiet, unwavering mastery of yourself. At its core, emotional boundaries are about freedom. Freedom from the chains of impulsivity, freedom from the tyranny of others' expectations, freedom from the need to prove your worth constantly. When a man achieves this freedom, he radiates an energy that is impossible to ignore. It is magnetic, it is commanding, and it is attractive in its purest form. Women sense this energy, even when they cannot articulate why they are drawn to it. It is an unconscious recognition of strength, of security, and of a man who values himself enough to enforce limits on what he will endure emotionally. So, take a moment and reflect on this. How often do your emotions drive your decisions? How often do you react instantly rather than responding intentionally? The men who attract respect, desire, and genuine attention are not those who are flawless. They are those who understand themselves deeply, manage their emotional world wisely, and set boundaries that communicate value without arrogance. Emotional mastery is not a trick or a gimmick. It is a philosophy, a lifestyle, a declaration that you are the captain of your inner world. The moment you begin to respect your own emotions, you begin to attract respect from everyone around you, including the women you desire most. The power lies not in what you do outwardly, but in the strength you cultivate inwardly. Guard it, refine it, and let it radiate. Because when you command your emotions, you command attention. And that is the beginning of every meaningful connection. The second boundary every man must master is physical and personal space. This isn't about arrogance or detachment. It's about self-respect. Women are attracted to men who value themselves, who understand that their time, energy, and presence are not commodities to be given away without thought. When you allow others, especially women, to overstep your physical or personal limits, it signals a lack of self-worth. Conversely, a man who sets clear boundaries around his space communicates strength, independence, and value without saying a single word. Attraction, at its core, is rooted in perception, and nothing shapes perception faster than the respect you command for yourself. Physical space is not just about distance. It is about intention. The way you carry yourself, the areas you claim as yours, the routines you protect, all of these create an aura of solidity. Women are wired to notice these subtle cues, often unconsciously. A man who is always available, who abandons his priorities for anyone who calls, communicates that he lacks purpose. But a man who maintains his routines, who protects his physical space, shows that his life has structure, that he is not defined by the whims of others. This structure is magnetic because it mirrors a deeper truth. Women are drawn to men who can create order in a chaotic world. Boundaries in personal space extend beyond the physical. They include the ways you manage your time, your commitments, and your energy. Saying no is one of the most powerful signals a man can give. It tells others, and women especially, that you are intentional about how you invest your life. Too many men misunderstand this principle, confusing availability with value. Availability without boundaries is weakness. It communicates that your approval is cheap, that your attention is negotiable. But when you deliberately choose when and where to engage, you signal that you are a man who understands his worth. That understanding is magnetic because it creates scarcity, intrigue, and respect. Physical boundaries also communicate emotional intelligence. A man who allows physical encroachment, who does not assert his comfort, risks being seen as passive or unassertive. This doesn't mean aggression or hostility. It means self-possession. When you claim your space, you demonstrate an understanding of the unspoken social rules that govern human interaction. Women notice the subtle ways a man protects his space, the way he positions himself in a room, the way he moves through crowds, the way he ensures he is not diminished by his environment. These cues, while silent, convey dominance, confidence, and composure. Another layer of this boundary is the discipline to maintain private time. In a world that constantly demands attention, a man who has routines, personal projects, and sacred moments for himself stands out. Women are attracted to men who have a life outside the relationship, not because they are avoiding them, but because they are full, engaged, and self-directed. Personal space is not isolation. It is cultivation. It allows a man to grow, to think deeply, to develop mastery over his craft, and to return to social interactions with a calm authority that is impossible to ignore. Setting boundaries also involves clarity in communication. Women may not consciously know why they are drawn to a man who protects his personal space, but they feel it. A simple statement like, "I have plans tonight, let's meet tomorrow," or maintaining consistent routines signals self-respect. It communicates that your life is valuable and that you operate from choice, not obligation. This subtlety is crucial. Attraction is rarely about what is said. It is about the unspoken, the energy that radiates from a man who knows his limits and enforces them respectfully. Physical and personal space boundaries intersect with emotional boundaries seamlessly. A man who protects his time and space is also signaling that he values his emotional stability. He cannot be pulled into every conflict, every drama, every demand without consequence. By maintaining these boundaries, he cultivates an environment where respect, attention, and desire flourish naturally. Women are drawn to this energy because it is rare. In a culture where so many men are reactive, available, and easily influenced, the man who stands firm in his space is like an island of certainty in a stormy sea. Consider this: every man has 24 hours. How you choose to allocate that time, who you allow into it, and how you protect it speaks volumes about your internal value. Physical and personal space are not privileges. They are rights. They are extensions of your self-respect. Women sense when a man treats his time and space as sacred because it reflects a deeper mastery of his life. When a man enforces these boundaries with consistency and calm authority, he doesn't need to explain himself. Attraction is not manufactured through effort. It is naturally drawn to strength that is clearly expressed. So, reflect on this. How often do you compromise your space to accommodate others' whims? How often do you sacrifice your routines, your focus, your presence, just to be available? The men who command attraction are not those who bend endlessly. They are those who hold their ground, who protect their space with confidence and clarity. The world respects a man who respects himself first, and women are instinctively drawn to this respect as a source of safety, strength, and intrigue. The boundaries you enforce around your space define how the world values you. Protect your time, claim your presence, and watch how attraction follows naturally. The third boundary every man must master is social and digital. In today's hyper-connected world, attention is the new currency. and how you allocate it signals your value. Women, like everyone else, are instinctively drawn to men who do not disperse their attention indiscriminately. A man who is constantly texting, always online, or immediately responsive to every ping communicates neediness, a lack of control, and ultimately lower value. Conversely, a man who consciously controls his digital presence projects independence, confidence, and focus. This is not about playing games or manipulation. It is about enforcing limits that preserve your energy, your focus, and your worth. Attraction grows when your availability is intentional, not accidental. Social boundaries extend beyond the digital world. They include who you spend your time with, the conversations you engage in, and the circles you move within. A man who is selective with his social interactions signals that he is intentional about the people he allows into his inner world. Women notice this instinctively. It communicates that you are not defined by social approval, that your identity exists independently of others' perceptions. This self-possession is magnetic because it reflects maturity, focus, and self-respect. It says without words, I know who I am, and I will not dilute myself for anyone. Digital boundaries are equally powerful because they shape perception in real time. Consider the unconscious messages sent by immediate responses, constant online presence, or over-sharing. Each notification you respond to instantly communicates availability and, often, urgency. By contrast, taking control, responding deliberately, prioritizing interactions, and protecting your online attention signals a man who operates from choice rather than compulsion. Women are drawn to this because it mirrors the qualities they seek in a partner: self-discipline, focus, and independence. When you control your digital footprint, you control how others perceive your value. Another layer of this boundary is social rhythm. Men who allow themselves to be constantly pulled into social obligations, parties, events, casual requests, often appear reactive rather than proactive. They may be kind, fun, or engaging, but they risk appearing available at all times, as though their life revolves around everyone else. A man who structures his social life, who selectively invests his time, demonstrates that his energy is finite, valuable, and not to be squandered. Women notice this because it communicates a life with direction, purpose, and autonomy. The subtle power of being slightly unavailable creates intrigue, respect, and attraction. Equally important is the idea of digital moderation and presence. In a world dominated by social media, men who constantly post, comment, or broadcast their lives dilute their mystery and their authority. Women are drawn to a man who is present in the real world first and engages online second. This is not detachment. It is intentionality. It demonstrates that your focus is on living meaningfully, not seeking validation through likes, comments, or digital attention. It is a silent but powerful signal. Your value is not determined by the approval of strangers, but by your own actions and choices. Defining social and digital boundaries also creates emotional safety. When a man enforces limits on how he communicates, who he communicates with, and when he engages, he preserves his focus and reduces unnecessary stress. Women are subconsciously attracted to men who operate from calmness rather than reaction. A man who is always available may seem kind on the surface, but he also communicates anxiety, dependency, or a lack of direction. By setting boundaries around social interaction and digital engagement, you demonstrate mastery over your environment, which is both powerful and appealing. This mastery extends to anticipation and interaction. A man who is intentional about his responses, who does not chase validation through immediate reactions, creates a rhythm that women notice and respect. He is not aloof for the sake of it. He is deliberate. This deliberate energy conveys control, focus, and self-worth. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who operate from a position of internal authority because it promises stability, direction, and security. Qualities that are rare and inherently attractive. Social and digital boundaries are also extensions of the first 2 points. Emotional and physical boundaries. A man who protects his time online, curates his social presence, and enforces limits is simultaneously protecting his emotional state and personal space. The 3 work in harmony. Emotional stability is reinforced by social discipline. Physical boundaries are validated by intentional social engagement. Attraction, therefore, becomes natural performance, but a natural byproduct of a life lived intentionally. So reflect on this. How often do you allow your time, attention, and presence to be reacted by others' demands? How often do you messages, obligations, without susurration your obligations, without considerations, with about you to refer you at a former priority, and abouted your derision for your priority? The men who command attraction are not those who say yes to everything. They are those who say no with clarity, who choose where their attention goes, and who protect their energy with purpose. Women sense this instantly. They are drawn to men who have their own lives, their own focus, and their own authority. Remember this. The boundaries you set around your social and digital life define how others perceive your value. Guard your attention, choose your engagements, and watch as attraction naturally follows. The power is in your choice.